Okay, so I've been, I don't know, maybe you could say I've been dragging my feet on this a little bit. I'm just not sure how I'm going to do this, but there's been one kind of subject I've avoided talking about for a really long time. And the reason for that will become pretty obvious as we get through the content. And it's kind of something that every guy wants. Guys come here on average. To me, I think you're foreign resident retirees. That's how I describe myself, and I think that's the group of guys that I really kind of made the channel for. People who currently are retired or looking to come here and retire. And we're typically, I would say, 55. You don't see too many guys younger than 55. And then by 65, pretty much everybody's settled into something. Not always. I mean, this guy's come here at 71, 67, all that. But most guys, I think, come here between the ages of 55 and 65, give or take. You get the idea. And then it occurs to a guy after he's had his life in his home country that he'd like to settle in with a woman, and one type of woman he thinks about is a young and beautiful woman. And it's kind of like two extremes here, which is odd, but generally speaking, and I have a fairly good video. It's, I think, my most viewed one, called "Know Your Dating Pay Grade in Thailand." You can look it up on my channel. You can search it. That's a fairly specific title. I think that's pretty much what it is. And generally, the guys that get into trouble, and I just saw this, and maybe I'll tell this story in a second, but they get into trouble when they push themselves to selecting a lady that is really too young and too pretty, because then that lady just has far more options than just him, and then she settled it for him for some reason, and that's almost always just money only. And then there's your problem. And then you're money only for some. And I'm telling you, when you're money only, you don't get loyalty. And I've talked to so many guys here that have lived in the tourist areas and the near and in the sex district areas. And I mean, I've lived here for only 4 years. I've studied language and culture for 5.5. I speak reasonably well. So most of my information on the channel comes from the Thai people themselves, which is a far greater source of information. But also I talk to long-term expats here, and most of which goes in one ear and out the other with me. But occasionally you run across a guy that's really sharp and insightful and actually has something real to say. And that also gets added into the channel. So that's where this is all coming from. I guess I'll tell you that up front. And if you're in a fake relationship, if you're in a money-only relationship, what happens is you have a hardship once your health goes down, or you have a problem. The guys, I said a guy, 71, I think he was, talking to me about this, a guy that I know fairly well. And he says, Rob, I mean, once I have a problem of any kind, they just disappear on me. I never hear from them again. And because they can find somebody easier. And if you have a problem, the money could be attached to that, or as a solution, you gotta buy your way out of some kind of problem here, or your car broke down or something. Now you got less money to give them, even for just 30 days. That's it. And they're done. No loyalty. In my opinion, you cannot purchase loyalty from another human being. That other person has to give you their loyalty on their own decision. A person that decides to be your good friend, a spouse that decides that they really love you, a child that decides they really appreciate that you've bent your whole life on its ear to support and love and nurture them, and they realize that at some point, and then you get real loyalty. When some people have tried to come between me and my son, he's an adult with autism, as I frequently mention. He's a sweet, sweet guy. He is also the most intelligent member of my entire family. And let me tell you, there's some smart people in my family. We may suffer some personality issues, but there's no lack of IQ. And he towers over just about everybody. And it's interesting. And then somebody will try and wedge between us, and it's a laugh. Now it's just a laugh for me to watch. If they don't give up, if they don't cut it out, he'll kick them to the curb, no matter who they are, which is interesting, and I also appreciate. You got to have one or two loyal people in this world. And if you're coming here and you're going to be counting on a wife and a Thai wife and you're living in Thailand, and the language and the culture are really, really, really difficult here, to penetrate that is extremely rare. In my opinion, less than 1 in 100 foreign retirees penetrates this culture to any meaningful depth. And you're going to need you're going to need a tour guide for all that. And if that person doesn't actually care about you, man, you're in trouble. I just don't recommend that. I mean, guys do that all the time, and that's fine. Again, some people get angry at thinking that I'm telling them what to do. I'm just sharing my experience. I'm sharing what my Thai friends and my friends here tell me, and that I think is reasonable, rational, and helpful. And everybody, please, this is a channel for adults. Make your own choices. Fine by me. I had one guy, he thought I was mad at him or thought I disapproved of him because he was dating. I'm like, date all you want. What do I never said one word, whatever. And so back to this concept of these two truths. There you go. On one hand, if you go for a woman, you try to attempt to pair up on an equitable basis and you're seeking a real, legitimate, caring, long-term relationship with a Thai woman and you're an older expat, if you generally, as a rule, as you go beyond a 10 to 15 year age gap, it gets harder. Fawn and I have a 22-year age gap. And I that's just the way it worked out. She was in my life before I was looking to select a partner. People that know our story know our backstory, and she was a friend before she was someone I dated. She actually helped me pick some of my girlfriends here. So we know each other a long time. As you go past that, it just gets harder because the woman has got to have, two people enter into a relationship, okay? They both have to have some kind of reason of why they're in there, and you need to know what the heck that is. A woman's looking to you. Why do women pair up with men? Well, they're attracted to men physically, okay, they're all that. But then they want typically protection. They want a home. They want the home fixed and maintained. They want financial support. Men, tend to make more money than women. Whatever. It's just true. They want all these traditional, typical things. And then a guy, he typically wants the care, compassion, intimacy. And in my opinion, to me, I feel like I've learned in the last 5 years or so that I feel like men are the little bit more romantically minded of the two, and the women are a little bit more practical in their thinking. And I think it's smart for us to be a little more practical. And so you go beyond this age gap this age gap limit as you stretch it and stretch it and stretch it. Again, Thailand, as a couple of videos ago points out, appearances are huge here. And if you look good, that makes a giant difference. If you act good, I know it's improper English, but if you act good as well, you know what I mean? If you're polite and respecting and just abiding in the culture in any way, it doesn't matter whether you speak or if you speak, hey, great bonus points. That's a whole other kettle of fish. But just abiding and respecting in the culture is the 80% of it. Okay, if you just do that, and then you groom and dress to the Thai standard and not the, gee whiz, I was just at a really nice restaurant last night with Fawn, and I'm sorry I didn't take a photo. Fawn looked gorgeous. I really should have taken a picture of her. We're just out on a nice Friday night date. This is Saturday morning. There were only two other foreigners in the restaurant. Guess what they both looked like? The one guy, this is a nice restaurant. Everybody in there is wearing a shirt like this, a button-down collared shirt, long pants. Every single person in the restaurant, I actually looked because I was going to talk about it. And this guy walks by me, foreign guy, probably in his 40s, and he's all super scruffy, and his hair isn't even combed or anything. He's wearing a basketball jersey and basketball shorts and sneakers. How does this make us look, And then another guy walks in, probably about my age, looked like he jumped out of the back of a garbage truck. Come on, people. So now, if you want to run around like that, hey, that's great. But don't expect to be helping your lady save face. And let me remind you, saving face is the number one most important thing in this culture. So if you want to run around and shoot yourself in the foot first thing in the morning, every morning when you wake up, more power to you. But that isn't like a long-term plan for success. But as you do all these other things, you can stretch yourself. And I'm 22 years older than Fawn. But none of her friends are talking about how, gee whiz, she should be finding somebody else. All of her friends are talking about, gee, she should be really keeping an eye on me and taking care of me and appreciating me. Doesn't that feel nice to hear all that kind of, you hear the little chats here and there, kind of like not so much behind your back, but just people talking and their body language and the way they say certain things. You get the feel. It's after a while, you get to get a handle of this. When you first get here, you think all the time people have the same personality because you can't tell one thing from another. And after a while, then you see them for the individuals they truly are. Hey, this person's nice. This person's not very nice. This person's rude. This person's got chip on their shoulder. I see all that now. And it's interesting. That's kind of the main reality, and this is what I've talked about on my channel for the 3 years, a little over 3 years that I've had it. Isn't that surprising? So this idea that as you if I see, if I'm at a restaurant or if I'm meeting another foreigner for dinner with his wife, and he's got a wife something like Fawn, the typical 10, 15 years younger or maybe 20 years younger, but they look good together and all this kind of stuff, and that's fine. And then I see the guy that he's 25, 30, 35 years older than his Thai wife. She looks like the essence of smoking hotness herself, and he is nowhere near in the same stratosphere. Generally, those are money only. And in fact, here's a funny one. I do a video on this, but I just can't. But if I can say this respectfully, as I meet people, I'll just say for dinner as an example. And let's say it's two couples, me and Fawn and another couple. And as we sit down, and as Fawn and the other woman, this will be a first meeting for this example, as they meet each other, there'll be a little wincing smile from the other woman if she's money only, if the guy's money only to her. There'll be this embarrassment because saving face is really important. And saving face is 24/7. It isn't, hey, I'll save face tomorrow. I'll save face in the next hour. I'll save face 5 minutes from now. Saving face goes on continuously in real time. And there'll be this little, I don't think I can imitate it, but this little, kind of like embarrassed little smirk kind of thing. And then I know. If I catch it right out of the corner, if I'm staring right at them, they may not do it. But if I catch out of the corner of my eye, then I know. Then the guy may or may not know. He may have been here with her 5 years. I know in a minute. I'm telling you, because they've got to do that to indicate, yeah, I know, but I need the money. That's what that says. And I've seen that. Anyway, so that's kind of. If I've covered it, I hope I'll put some notes on the screen if I've kind of missed some things. But that's kind of like, in a nutshell, the basic reality here. Now, however, there's this other reality. Thai culture is difficult. Life in Thailand is hard. Just like, honestly, life in the United States is hard. All my friends, not all, but most of my friends are struggling to varying degrees, or however well they have been doing is taken down, or they're working harder to maintain the same level over the last, 10 years, 20 years or so. I did a lot of business in Canada, which has more, and this isn't like a political one way or the better, but I'm just going to tell you, I did a lot of business in Canada, which has more government programs and support. And kind of the general feeling was that if a guy wasn't doing all that well, was struggling a bit, you were kind of better off in Canada, because in the U.S. it can be a little rough. I was a small business entrepreneur. I had to pay for my own health care, private, $1,800 a month every month, all this stuff. I had no safety nets. Now, I chose that path, and I don't regret it, and it was a hell of a lot of fun, and I did okay. I wasn't super successful, but I did okay, and I was happy. I look back, I'm thankful on what I did and what I had and what I still have, okay? And here, it's kind of more like the United States a little bit. Like, if you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, it's the families that support each other, and the Thai families are very close, part of their culture. But it's rough, and so and in Asia in general, Asian cultures in general, and in Thailand 100% for sure, a lot of the work here falls on the women's beautiful, tiny little shoulders. If you go to any social function, the women do all the preparing for everything, all the setting up of the tables and chairs, all the preparing of the food. The men sit off to the side, smoke, talk, drink, play cards, whatever they're doing, and they wait for the stuff to be served. And then everybody sits down and eats. Usually it's men and women separate. A lot of things are separate by gender here, which is kind of cool, old-fashioned. And then at the end, the men, some leave early, most stick around and then go back to the what they were doing before, and the women clean up, set up the table, clean up the table, stack the chairs, and then take all the dishes home with them and clean them in their own homes later. And the men are then free to do whatever they'd like. That's just real typical. That's just one example. That isn't like all Thai culture every day, okay? But it gives you an idea. And it's kind of like that for everything. The raising of the children tends to fall to the women. Not that there aren't good Thai dads, there are, but you get the idea. When a divorce happens, typically it's the women that take it. There's no kind of alimony or child support concepts here that I am aware of that I've ever heard of once. So generally, everything just kind of falls onto the women, okay? The caring for, including financial payment every month to the parents, falls only on the daughters. The sons have no social obligation. They may. A nice son may give money to his parents, but they have no obligation to do so, and I rarely hear of them doing that. It's almost always the daughters I hear. So the women are under a lot of pressure, and Thai women are very sharp, and as a result, in my opinion, my theory is as a result of all this work and all these pressures on them, they're very pragmatic. They're very pragmatic how they do their lives, how they get their education, what careers they pursue, and they try to be pragmatic in their partner selection for a potential husband. And if they went the more romantic route in the beginning, which obviously they do a lot, but the second time around in the West we tend to be more pragmatic, in my opinion, for second wives and second husbands. And the Thai women, in my opinion, are extremely pragmatic the second time around. And so then that's where the opportunity for the foreign men comes in. As Thai women lose their eligibility over 30, been married, had children, any one of those things will make them typically ineligible to marry an eligible or highly eligible Thai man, and one or two of those can make them completely ineligible for all kinds of decent guys and all that. It's a tough game, and so. Therefore, what can happen in this other section, which I've been slowly working towards, and forgive me, but I got to set this up for you, or I'm not going to be able to make this point. I'm not that good of a storyteller. What happens is you'll see some young women, some women 20-ish and up, 20-ish to, I'm just going to say roughly 20 to 30 or whatever. And it's these very young women that typically they're eligible to date a Thai man, and the overwhelming majority of them do go that route. That's what they really want. But there is a small percentage that look around and go, hey, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of risk. Half my friends have gotten divorced. They got 2-3 kids. They're caring for them on their own. They're mega stressed, and they're trying to care for their mama that's sick, and they got all these burdens, and they're crying every night. And I mean, it's and you do get suicides here. You do, and that's in my experience, typically what I hear about is far more often women. I don't know the statistics on it, but dang, I sure hear about women. I rarely hear about a guy. In fact, I don't recall ever hearing about a guy. So it's a lot of pressure on them. So some of these young women look around and go, hey, this is a rough game. This is tough. And, maybe they're not like super beautiful by a Thai standard, which is typically the real light skin tone is real popular. What they want to do with the beauty standard in Thailand is to look like the K-pop Korean music stars and the Korean and Thai soap opera stars. You can probably do all kinds of internet searches with those terms and figure out for yourself what those people tend to look like. But it's a lot of plastic surgery on the nose, cheeks, and lips. And then they do these skin lightening treatments, which it still irks me that those are actually healthy. I can't believe that. You think bleaching the skin is some disgusting, horrible thing that it makes you sick or something, and it's some kind of literal vitamin and it makes them healthier. I can't believe that's true, but apparently I've had like 20 people tell me it's true, so it probably is. But they'll do the skin lightening, but a traditional good village lady, for example, that's kind of what my channel's about, but she's young. She doesn't possess any of those standards, but she's got the incredible classic Thai beauty, that beautiful honey tan skin or cinnamon tan skin, and just the beautiful natural Thai features. Oh my God, like Fawn, to me, she's so beautiful. A lot of us Westerners look at a lady like that and go, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. And we look at the K-pop, the Korean pop stars and go, that's kind of like that fake plasticky kind of look you see everywhere around the planet. Not really, getting me all excited. That's how I feel about it, and there are guys that feel that way. And then so these women that have been just a good, honest, traditional young Thai woman, and they're looking at a kind of a difficult road ahead, and they're looking at themselves maybe a bit honestly and saying, gee whiz, their prospects of landing like an eligible or a highly eligible Thai man are low, because the competition's very high. Those Thai men date at the absolute top of the food chain. Again, the expat channels here that talk about how, oh, we're so desirable. I'm telling you, ask some Thai women in private. They will all disagree with that. They all dream about a handsome Thai soap opera star looking man that's, owns a car dealership or something, and is going to come in and rescue them, and they're going to have 5 kids and live happily ever after. On their big field of rice farms or something. That's what they all want. Or live in Bangkok and go to fancy dining, whatever they're into. If they're a Samai Mai modern woman, or they're a Watanatam Dang Dum traditional woman. I'm a Dang Dum guy. I like the traditional women, as you can tell. And that's what I recommend. The Samai Mai is, the Samai Mai is where all your problems start with over 90% of the time. If you stick with the Watanatam Dang Dum, the traditional cultural people and women, you are far, 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 far better off. This traditional Thai culture is awesome, and that's the one you want, buddy. When you don't know everything around you, and you don't know the language, you don't know all the things, you want good, honest, Jai Di, Greng Jai, good people around you caring about you. If you're in a shark-infested modern waters somewhere in a big city, everyone trying to social climb, man, you better be prepared. Anyway, so back to this. So this is what can happen. These young women, then a tiny percentage of them then will start thinking about, and they'll accept an older guy. They're looking to get out. Now, here's a little bit of backpedaling though. Generally, when that happens, that is, how can I say that? I don't know. Maybe I'll edit this out. I don't know. But that's somebody that's kiki lazy. They see this. They see the road ahead, fraught with potholes and challenges they don't want to deal with, and then a lot of these people are, maybe you might say, a little. What I'm told is they're a little bit lazier, and you're just going to get kind of one thing only from that young lady. She's typically not going to cook, clean, care for you, run errands, and then help you with your visa and all these things. She's just going to kind of be at home, be your lady, provide one thing for you, and that's the end of it. However, over time, feelings can develop. All that kind of stuff. People are people. You can't say any one person is going to do any one thing, and you can't stereotype people. But that's you can kind of get a unicorn there, because you will get this tiny percentage of young women that are eligible, and then they'll look to then a foreigner to. The phrase I've used for years is to opt out of the culture. They just want off this ride, and they may have a need. Maybe their mom is real sick, and it's fallen onto them to take care of their mom, and they got no way to do that. Again, they've assessed themselves as they really can't or don't want to try to compete for a good eligible Thai man. They'd really like one, but they just see that's just so difficult. And they see their friends all dying on that hill, and they don't want to do that. They just want to opt out, say, I'm done, I'm out. They just want to have a peaceful life and take care of their mom and have some financial means to be comfortable. And they'll take on an older foreign husband, and there can be real care. Now, the more you earn that, the higher your odds of real care. I actually know a couple of guys that have a gigantic age gap, and I'm 1,000% convinced that it's a real legit relationship. The woman truly loves them. Let me walk you through these guys' credentials for your general edification. These guys are wealthy by Western standards. They are movie star handsome. They look good. They look good here. They look good anywhere. They dress sharp. They've got style, class, well-educated. A couple of them are fluent speakers. The couple guys that I know pretty well, I know they observe the culture to a very high level. So the woman's saving face, just check the box, check the box, check the box. She's saving face on all these things, speaking the language, abiding in the culture. The guy's mega rich. He's provided a fantastic life for her. They're willing to have children with the women, so they're older, but they're going back and having kids. Saving face, saving face, saving face. And again, the guys are. I'm telling you, appearances are super important, and the appearance of what you look like. So how attractive you are is much more important here than it is, say, in my home culture, Detroit. where that's a lesser important thing in my opinion. And then the appearances of what you're doing, how your behavior. If you're spitting on the sidewalk, which certain foreigners, I'm not going to name names, but certain foreigners from certain countries, the Thais just complain all the time about how they spit in public and they hate it. If you're doing things like that, you're acting doing behaviors that the Thais call out as rude, that's going to hurt you. And I'll tell you on the response thing. I mean, I was just had a Thai lesson yesterday with Usani and a couple other students in an in-person class at her school, and I told her, I took a minute out and I thanked her in front of all the other students. I said, I said, Usani, I get every single day, I get almost a handful of compliments from people wherever I run errands and stuff throughout the day, and then I come back home and have my nap and wait for my dinner with Fawn. And on my Thai language, I get, oh, Poot Chat, Poot Gang, how many years have you been here? Oh, my, only 4 years? I can't believe it, and how long have you been studying? And I mean, they're just tripping over themselves, complimenting me, which is really a compliment to Usani, which is what I told her. She has a fantastic program. Anyways, but there's kind of the concept of a unicorn. It's sort of weird because you have this sort of, as you go younger and prettier, because everything here is by looks, and a woman's value is first looks, and then it's family wealth, and all these other things, but everybody goes to looks first. Okay. And as you get these younger and prettier women, which a lot of guys come here and get all stars in their eyes and get all excited, it's worse and worse for you, my friend, unless you can match them in some way. And the overwhelming majority of us choose not to do that work and just choose to write a check every month. And then therein goes the disaster that we've created for ourselves. But then, kind of ironically, if you go really young and sometimes really quite pretty, because beauty and age are tied together, obviously, you can find someone that potentially could care for you. But you're going to, again, the more you put in and the more you actually offer other than money, the more loyalty you're going to get. But there is an opportunity there for a guy that really has a lot going on and is willing to pick through an awful lot of chaff to find some wheat. I mean, that's a rough one. But if that's what you just gotta have, it is there. And I guess one reason I've avoided saying and talking about this is the odds are really against you. But it does exist, and I have seen it. And I've 100% seen it successful and proper in a really nice mutual relationship a couple of times. But also, I don't know if I'm not really a very skilled presenter, and I'm a little underconfident how this video is going. I'm going to have to cut a lot here, or maybe jump in a couple of times during edit to pull this out of the fire. I don't know. I don't want to say anything disrespectful to anybody, and I just try to. I don't know. I had a rough time when I came here. I had a rough time the last 18 months while I was back in the U.S. Forcibly retired and divorced in the whole country western song. If I would have had a dog, it would have died. And then I came here, and then I really, just struggled for a while until I kind of found my footing. And my goal has always been to try to sincerely help the guys to not have that second struggle when they land here and have more pain and heartache. Because I had some real pain. I had some people here that caused me some real pain, and I don't know. Us engineers tend to be kind of more like childlike personalities, in my opinion. A lot of the engineers are kind of that youthful 10-year-old enthusiasm of, I can do it, we can do it, we can figure that out. And that's just, I've seen that consistently in my life. And but we're not always the most streetwise and the most careful with people. And maybe I'm kind of starting to finally learn to just be really more careful. I think that's maybe that's part of it. But anyhow, there you have it. There's my story. I will attempt to edit this together into something that's not offensive to anybody, or certainly not by intention. And it's kind of interesting just because you do see it. It is interesting. And most of the 99, I got to say, I don't know whatever the odds are, but some overwhelming majority of the time you see an older guy and you see a really young, really attractive woman. That's what they call pay for play. And again, every pay for play guy that I've ever had a serious private talk with, every single solitary one has said, yeah, it's really awful in the end because you get absolutely no care. It's just the money, and then that's it. And then if the money isn't fresh, it's money and honey, and you got no money and no honey, and and that drags on you after a while. And the older guys get, even the real playboy types, which is fine, um, they complain about it as they get older because it's kind of, they feel it. To me, I take it as they're telling me it's a little empty. Again, for me, my choice was easy. I need so much physical care that I needed help anyway. So the being the playboy wasn't much of an option for me. I think my playboy career lasted a couple of months. So learn from my mistakes maybe. And but there's the whole unicorn thing. That's kind of how it works, And I'll tell you, if you want to do that, stay out of the big cities. Stay out of the. I should have mentioned that up front. Sorry, forgot. Tourist areas, big cities, all that. Your odds of finding a young lady that, and what you might consider a pretty lady, maybe not pretty by a Thai man, but pretty to you and me, which is two very different things. Your odds, you're more likely to get bitten by a shark during a lightning strike than to find one of those ladies in a big city. You need to be out remote where they might be thinking the pace is slower. And you're going to have more of those JID traditional Thai Isan people. I'm telling you, that is a beautiful culture. Guys turn their back on that culture to their own peril, in my opinion. That I'll tell you. As we get older and slower in the head, and you don't want sharks around you. All right. Anyways, I feel I've chosen wisely. I'm happy. I've really. This has been the journey was painful in the beginning. Then it was just not so much painful. It was just kind of like a diligent work. But it wasn't bad. And in all honesty, I've been kind of lazy in my studies with Usani. I mean, I go to the class, I pay attention in class, I ask good questions, I take notes. And, and in the first couple of years, I reviewed the notes for hours on end. I mean, 1 hour in class time was an hour, 2 hours of note review and further study on my own. First couple of years, that's how I got my leg into it. But after that, I kind of just been less and less. And I've just changed to a new schedule. I've just gotten more mobile after this last back surgery. And so I am attempting, I still yet to do it, you'll notice, but I am attempting to get it back into a good habit of doing some more Thai homework here at home. I still do some, but I want to get into a better maybe hour for hour. So 3 hours a week of class and then 3 hours a week of homework. That isn't really very much. I mean, the guys that go and get the Bangkok degree, I mean, one guy I know really well, and I mean, he was like, Rob, it was like 10, 12 hours a day of Thai when you added it all up. He says it was enormous. He did that for 3 years, but he speaks at a native level. Not fluent. He's beyond fluent. He's native. On the phone, Thais, after like 5-10 minutes, go, Kon Thai, mai? You're a Thai person? Yes? They're unsure. And he says, Rob, that's my favorite thing. I love that. He goes, that's always my goal. Well, and they can't see me. I want them to think they're talking with another Thai person. I want to be as fluent as I can. And I'm like, buddy, you're there. So anyways, that's one guy I know, though. All right, thanks. Bye. Keep forgetting to do exhaust clips. And here's just a couple of little fun snapshots. Here we are buying some coconuts. Here she is once again doing her laundry outside, still in her work uniform, partly at least. And then here's the cute little tan leg channel making a comeback. And here is a shot of my class with Crew Usani. Thank you for watching my YouTube video. If you've watched this far, please consider hitting like and subscribe.